Welcome to Timeless Mysteries. Today we've got a guest with us today. This is Kai Alexander Morgan, founder of True Crime Story 911 Media Group. How are you doing today, Kai?
Fine. How are you doing today, Robert?
Pretty good. So
Good.
today we're going to be talking about Matthew. Oh, wait a second. We got a little bit of feedback there, but that's okay. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about drawing a blank here. Matthew Shepard.
Right.
So I guess I'll just let you start. I'll just let you start. You can let us know what you know about the case.
Well, what I do know about the case and about Matthew's murder was that he was a 21-year-old college student that attended the University of Wyoming, I believe it is, and he lived in Laramie, Wyoming. Um, Also, it was October 6th. He was at a bar. And from what I understand is that two men approached him and offered him a ride, and he got into the car, and basically they drove him out to a field, isolated area, desolate area, and attacked him, um, and tied him to a what do you call it? Um,
Fence post.
yeah, maybe a fence post. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So the attackers were Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson. So and what else do I know? That they were both convicted. One uh, Aaron got two life sentences, and then Russell pleaded. He took a plea deal and got two life sentences also. Um, Now I know that there's been some dispute about what happened that night. But first of all, I want to say that um, the only people that can really say what happened that night, two of them are in jail and one of them is deceased. So there's been books that have come out about it and controversy about it that Matthew was a drug dealer, meth drug dealer, drug user. Um, I watched a couple of videos that you guys sent me over yesterday, and um, one of them was saying um, that Aaron was his uh, boyfriend, or they had had sex together, and that they knew each other prior to this incident of violence, and that it was all about drugs and not about a hate crime, and the government is was quick to judge this case and classify it as a hate crime. And so that's basically what I know about it.
That's a pretty good summary, at least from what I've gathered. I hadn't actually researched this case until a couple days ago, and I've been there's a lot of information, and I just stumbled across that stuff that I sent you yesterday.
Right.
And it's really kind of disturbing. For those of you who don't know, this is a murder case where this man was attacked by two men. It was essentially a hate crime. He was beat to nearly to death and left to freeze to death in a uh, basically tied up to a fence in Wyoming. And he was found before he died, but he died a few days later. Um, it's really uh, a very despicable crime. This happened in 1998. So and I can't seem to post comments on my own YouTube comment thing, guys. I just tried to send you a link so you guys could check out the research that I did. It's also on my community tab if you want to find it and look at it. But I did make a little short this morning, and I'll see if I could share that. I don't know why I'm getting rejected by my own. There we go. I think maybe this will work. It's kind of weird. I've never gotten rejected by my own stuff before, but let's see if this will play.
Okay.
In February 1995, Matthew Shepard was 17 years old, 5'2", and barely 100 pounds. He survived multiple assailants and a sexual assault. Okay. I got to share a different screen because that one didn't work. Let me try that again.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So now you guys should be able to see it. I'm going to go ahead and let it play. It's only it's less than a minute. Or maybe not. Wow. I'm having a day. In February 1995, Matthew Shepard was 17 years old, 5'2", and barely 100 pounds. He survived multiple assailants and a sexual assault in Marrakech, Morocco. 3 years later, he had survived the depression that followed, the hospitalizations and the medications and the dark arithmetic that turns every morning into some kind of negotiation. By 1998, he survived being openly gay in rural Wyoming, where that particular courage was its own species of Russian roulette. Matthew Shepard, by all accounts, was a survivor, and by the last half of 1998, he thought the darkest parts of his life were finally behind him.
It was a gruesome discovery at this fence. A gay man, barely alive tonight.
In February, and that's just like a little preview, guys. So you can kind of, if you really want to find out what happened and how it happened and why, there's all kinds of videos on this. And, you know, I think the worst part about it is that, you know, in 1998, people didn't treat people the same way as they do now. You know, people are more open about their sexuality now than they ever been before. And, you know, it's a better thing. I mean, people are kind, and in the sense that anybody for any, you know, race, sexuality, religion, all of those things that, you know, we have our differences, but people could still be kind and be different. And, I think back in 1998, I think they used to say it was okay to be gay, which was different than it had been before, you know. And I mean, I feel like that was even weird. It shouldn't even be a thing, in my opinion. I don't know why people even need to know who people are attracted to unless you ask, you know. I have friends, I have family that I care about deeply who are you know, gay, and I mean, I think everybody knows somebody now, and I think it's a good thing that crimes like this are just despicable, and I don't really have words for it, you know.
Right. It seems to be something that was very heinous. It was very I couldn't even think of doing that to someone, you know, beating them to death and leaving them to die in the cold, tied to a fence post. It takes the worst kind of mind to do that kind of evil thing, regardless of whatever influences they were on. They were apparently they were both drunk, and at least Aaron was on methamphetamines, uh, and from published reports had been up for days. So, but still, that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse to beat someone to death, torture them, and tie them to a fence post and leave them in the freezing temperature to die. And he stayed there for 18 hours before he was found.
You know, drugs can definitely change the way a person thinks. I mean, honestly, I think drugs, especially like methamphetamine, can actually mess your brain up so much that you don't even know what's real or what's right or what's wrong. And you'll see people on the streets, the transients who are unhoused. They're walking, down the street talking to themselves. It's usually some sort of drug-induced hallucination from lack of sleep, lack of nutrients and things like that. I mean, it's terrible. But it's not an excuse for what they did. And I think what's particularly horrible about this
Right.
case is that he got attacked when he was on vacation in Morocco. And it wasn't just one person, it was multiple people. And it took him a long time to get over that. And when I saw the first video about how somebody had claimed that he was a drug dealer and that he was on drugs, my first thought was like, no way. And then I found some more information that his mother had said that, after that attack, he was on prescriptions and he may have used marijuana and alcohol, but it wasn't like it didn't sound like it was like habitual or anything. And after I heard about this drug narrative, because there's some massive channels that say that this is all a lie. This wasn't a hate crime. This was, a meth dealer getting the crap beat out of him, and
Right.
I think that there's anything that tells me that that's true, like that I could find in a couple of days. So, I mean, obviously people have researched this longer than I have. They might be more informed than I am. But I did find a toxology report and a little bit of information from the person who did the autopsy and said that there was no drugs in his system when he died. No cocaine, no methamphetamines, and no opioids. I don't even
Right.
think it was THC or alcohol in his system. And I'm trying to find the quote. Who the name of the person who did the autopsy? Julie Heggie. She was the Albany County coroner. She conducted the autopsy on his body, and
Mhm.
she says that it does feel good that she is able to honestly say that it was a hate crime. And people are lying to themselves if they believe it wasn't a hate crime. There was no, Shepard had no had antidepressants and possibly low levels of marijuana and some alcohol in his system. But she said there was no sign of any kind of other drugs. And
Right.
I think that's important. I mean, if you've got a guy who spends 13 years writing a book, hoping to find something good, he ends up finding all of this other stuff. It kind of makes you wonder who he was talking to. And from what I can gather, he was talking to people who were from the meth community in Laramie, Wyoming. And so they're going to say whatever they think the person who's, talking to them wants to hear. I imagine they're probably not doing it for free. But I mean, the guy, one of the guys, I can't remember which one, but he has apologized multiple times. But I guess he is also like changed his story multiple times as well. But because of this case, and there was another case also, this was I forget his first name. His last name was Byrd, but he was an African-American family man. He had several children and he got attacked. This case and the Shepard, or that case and this Shepard case, changed the laws for hate crimes. And it's pretty important. Those kind of laws protect the community and, but, yeah, I don't know. If you guys really want to read everything that I found out, you can check on my community tab. Look for my latest post. There's a link there to a PDF that you could read. I don't think I want to read it on here. It's just pretty in depth. I would share the link, but it won't let me. It keeps telling me. Let me see if I can share it again. It keeps telling me that I'm violating, or what does it say? YouTube rejected your comment. You may need to share your information another way. I don't know what that even means. Let me see if
How are you going to share it another way?
I don't know. Let me see. It's never done this. I think it's something to do with StreamYard. And of course, okay, let's try the link one more time. I don't think it got rejected that time. Yeah, there's the link if you want to read through it. It's got a lot of information. It looks like this. You'll see the that short that I made is that essentially the first paragraph there. But it's quite long. I covered a lot. It took me almost 4 days. I just finished it barely this morning.
Okay. I'm looking over it right now. It seems to be in depth, very in depth. So, yeah, so you're talking about James Byrd Jr., who was attacked by an African American. He was an African American guy. Was attacked by 3 Caucasian guys. He was offered a ride, which is something similar to the Matthew Shepard story, and they tied. I believe they chained his feet to the back of the car or pickup that they were doing, and they rode around with him struggling to get loose, and it tore his body apart.
It
So,
is that story is so horrific that I couldn't even read it all. It's very disturbing. It let me just see if I can find something maybe I could share about it. I mean, because it is important to know about these things. I don't know that all of the horrible, gory details are necessary.
mhm.
But like the name, the dates, stuff like that, those are important. And that,
Yeah, I do know it was John William King, Lawrence Russell Brewer, and Sean Berry were the 3 that were um, offered James Byrd Jr. the ride.
yeah, I'm just looking on YouTube, and there's like pictures with bloody chains and things like that. From what I read, was that man was just a regular guy. He was actually a kind family man, and something like this happened to him. It's easier to deal with crimes like that when there's like some sort of justification, but there was no justification for it. It's just
Right.
insane that people can be so cruel. I just don't understand it. The more that I cover true crime, the more that it weighs on me, that there's just people that walk around everywhere that are normal, and then one out of like 10,000, 1,000, who knows how many I've walked by in my everyday life, that could be, a killer or somebody who's physically hurting somebody and just smiling in public. I mean, it's crazy to think about it,
Right.
but the more you do true crime, the more it's all you kind of see. Um, I don't know. If you guys have noticed on my channel, I've been doing less and less because I've been working on other projects that help me to not think about all of these crimes. Uh, it just weighs on me sometimes, and lately it's been really hard to dive into these cases because they're just so horrible, and the people who knew these people, they're still suffering. That just never goes away. And
Right.
if me as a stranger feels that way, just imagine what the family and friends actually feel. And it bothers me sometimes more than it does other times, I guess.
Right. So yeah, we're talking about two horrific events that it seemed that not so much Bird, but Matthew Shepard has gotten over the past 20 years, a lot of coverage. Um, Even though I think it was the Clinton administration signed in the James Bird and
I believe it was Obama.
Matthew
I think it was.
Shepard. Was it Obama?
I think. I believe so. Yeah. Um, let's see.
I
I
think
do have a.
initially in 1998 it was the Clinton administration, and then Obama added the part about hate crimes. He classified hate crimes as being a crime against someone, against their gender, their sex, their age, their whatever. Um, he sort of narrowed the focus of that. But I could be wrong. Could be wrong, but I think that's true. If you want to
I'm
double check.
looking. I know. I read that Obama came up with that law, and it's a federal law for hate crimes. But I'm trying to see what legislation um, in 1994. There was the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994.
Mm.
There was a Church Arson Prevention Act of 1996. And I think these were done during the Clinton administration. And then there was the Hate Crime Prevention Acts in 1997. This was kind of like a advocacy for further expansion. But it didn't become law until 2009. So that happened in 1997. It didn't actually become a law until 2009 when President Obama signed the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Hate Crime Prevention Act. The legislation that Clinton had advocated for, but couldn't get it to go through Congress during that time. So, I mean,
that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, it's good that we had a president who was trying to get it to go through. It took a long time, 1997 to 2009, before it got made into a law.
Right.
But
Actually,
yeah, I'm
looking it up.
trying to see if there's
Matthew
anything I
Shepard and
could
James
show you
Byrd
guys
Hate Crimes Prevention Act.
on James Byrd Jr. That's not. I don't know. I don't think I could share most of this stuff. It just looks too graphic. At least the thumbnails do. I don't know. There's one thing from like BBC News. It looks like it's probably pretty good and tame, but it'll get copyrighted if I try to use it on here to show you guys. So, Kai, tell me about your media group.
So, True Crime Story Now Media Group is a broadcasting and printing company. We, on the broadcasting side, we have our podcast called the Original Sin Podcast, and that deals with missing and murdered individuals. We talk to their friends and family, any law enforcement that want to contribute. And we also have a blog that is called True Crime Story blog, actually, and which comes out daily. It's a true crime blog, and we have a another YouTube channel that's coming into effect in January, and a magazine that's coming out in February. So we have a lot of things planned for 2026. Um, right now, it's just the blog, the podcast, and we have a newsletter also. And so that's what makes up True Crime Story Now Media Group.
And what types of stories do you write about in the magazine?
Well, the magazine, it's gonna be coming out in February, but on the blog itself, we write about any kind of true crime story. Nothing that's like too gory, because we don't show gory pictures or pictures of deceased people like you might see on some websites. We're not that kind of website. So, but we do report on true crime stories from anything from Chris Watts to um, Scott Peterson to just anything that's true crime related.
Yeah, on my channel, I do talk about Chris Watts a lot. I've been trying not to lately because I've talked about it so much. I don't know,
Right.
But I know Molly and Olga both they probably are experts on that case. They know more than I do. But I've written so much stuff on that. I'm trying to see if there's something good that I could talk about in the article that I wrote, and I just think I don't know, it's too in depth to read. It would just sound like I'm reading out of a magazine or something.
Right.
But it's got a lot of good information, and I think I don't know. I usually do research like this. I don't normally format it this way, but I've been telling my subscribers that I've got all this extra information. I don't have anything to do with it. After I'm done doing like a live stream, or even if I do a long form video, that's usually only like 3,000 words. And I don't know, I have so much stuff, and I could just like write it all out and make it a little neater and put it into something that, I can give my members to actually, if they want to know more, they can certainly read it. But I've got, I don't know, hundreds of things similar to this one. They're not well formatted, but they've got all the same information. I take notes. as I'm going. Sometimes I work on my phone when, when I'm out in town doing something, and then I come home, I watch TV while I eat dinner, and then I'm writing or reading or something. It's kind of all I do. But let's see. So I guess what really stands out about Matthew's story to you as a true crime writer?
I think the fact that that he was a young individual, someone that didn't get to live out his full potential of his life. Um, he would probably be about 40 something now. Um, you know, it just or he may be in his 50s. So it was 1998. So, but anyway, he didn't get to live out his life. Um, from what I understand and from what you wrote in your report that you just published online, just that he was, at a bar. I know the bar was called Fireside. They were gay friendly, or and he was minding his business. He ordered a drink and was lured outside by these two individuals, thinking that he had money or something else that they could steal. And it looks like, you know, it's kind of crazy because you do this to someone and then your defense is like gay panic kind of thing. Like, but you are in a gay bar. Um, it it doesn't make sense to me. That's what kind of stands out. Because at
Well, I
trial,
think
when Aaron went to
if they
trial,
were
he showed
looking
up.
for somebody to attack, that would be a good reason for them to go to a place like that. If it, I didn't,
Right.
um, but Aaron McKinney was a meth user, um, and it
Yes, he was.
does make you more aggressive, and it leads to brutal crimes. Even if it wasn't murder, it could, if I mean, in a domestic situation, one of the, you know, family members, kids even could get hurt because of, something triggers you when you're on that kind of drug. You just get aggressive and you just explode, and it's crazy. I just can't even imagine anybody doing that. But they beat him with a gun, like, and they just left him there. I think they thought he was dead. And I mean, it's just
Yeah.
dumb luck that anybody found him. The guy who did find him thought it was a scarecrow attached to a fence. Um, and that bothers me too. I mean, it's like, we see things and we don't want to see what it really is. I mean, the first thing he thought was it's a scarecrow because he couldn't imagine it being a real person, you know?
Right.
Um, uh, I, I wish I had more to talk about on the actual murder. I mean, but it was just a violent event that
Right.
it was just awful. I mean, and I don't really like talking about the actual details. But he
Hmm.
died 5 days later. So his wounds were, I
Yeah,
mean,
he
they beat
had.
him so terribly that, doctors in a hospital couldn't, save him. And
Right.
it it's just horrible.
I think his cause of death was the blunt force trauma to his head, to his brain.
There was over
But it was
12,
but it was built. It was. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
um, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, there was, I believe more than 12, like, he got hit with that gun more than 12 times. If you could just
Right.
imagine that physically, you know, if you watch MMA, I think I've used this example before, but you see these guys, you know, they're in the ring for like what, a minute or something, and sometimes they gas out after, you know,
Hmm.
5 or 6 blows. They just like punch, 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 and then you're exhausted.
Right.
That's a lot of exertion. If you're on drugs, you know, you don't have that, so you could just keep going. But I mean, a gun probably weighs 3 or 4 pounds, right? And you're bashing somebody with it that many times. It's just insane. I don't get it. Um,
Yeah. And the the fallout from that, you know, stayed with the media and with the current president at the time. And, you know, they, um, I know, like, I think it was 2 years ago, because in the 27th year, they celebrated the 25th anniversary of his death. Um, his parents, you know, made a foundation in his name that helped. Initially, the cause was to help parents of children that were gay uh, to accept their children and not to dispose of them. And that's sort of what was on the website that I read. That was their initial mission. Um, However, they've grown since then, and it's it's terrible. It is.
there was
So
fractures to the back of his head. He was in a coma.
right,
They couldn't.
right,
I mean, he kind of got stable, I think. They did CT scans and MRIs, and there was no intervention that could have saved him at that point. He had been beaten too badly. His parents, Dennis and Judy, uh, um, they have. I think they started a group. I'm trying to remember what the name of
yeah.
it was.
It's the Matthew Shepard Foundation.
Yes, that's it. And they have been talking about hate crimes in general for years after this. There's I've seen at least 2 or 3 different videos from different points in their lives. You know, this is almost 20 years ago, so I mean they're getting older, but they're still advocating for, you know, people to be better people, be kind to others who are different than you.
Right, right. So it just, to me, it speaks to their character that after they found out that these two men were arrested for beating their son to death, basically, and leaving him out in the cold, or beating him so bad, you know, that he eventually died, but then leaving him out in a freezing cold for 18 hours. Um, they didn't want to seek the death penalty. They It speaks to their character that they wanted mercy for, you know, his killers. I read yesterday that they had approached the prosecution and asked them not to seek the death penalty, and that's why they and um, went for life, you know, in the trial. And then the Henderson pled guilty, so he took a plea deal. But I don't think I could be that forgiving. I don't know. I guess it has to happen to you.
I think when you think about the death penalty, for me anyway, whenever I think about it, it's like I have no problem that people are on the death penalty. I just don't think I would be able to be one of the people who made the decision to put them on the death penalty. I don't think I could live with myself uh, with by doing that. I don't know. What do you guys think about the death penalty? Would you put somebody on death row?
We're
You
looking at
know,
the chat.
yeah. This was a small town in Wyoming too. So
Right.
in 1998, it's got to be a big deal to be open about this. I mean, it can't be easy, to feel different, but um, he chose to be open about it, and this is what happened to him. When I was reading about or listening to these guys say that, oh, everything you know about this guy is a lie. At first, I was like, well, I wanted to believe it, and the more I looked into it, the more things I found that didn't support any of it, that he was a drug addict or a drug dealer, even, which a drug dealer makes it worse because if a drug dealer dies, does anyone really care about it that much? I mean, it's just a
In
different.
my opinion, no, not that much.
Yeah, that's just the simple truth of it. If you're a criminal and you die doing criminal things, people don't care as much. Molly says
Right.
that she would put somebody on death row if something came up and she had a reason to. I still don't think I could.
Personally, myself, I think that if I was on a jury, I would be able to do that.
You think you could
Personally,
on a jury?
I think so. I think so. But you have to be there, but if the crime was so horrific as beating someone, to the point where they probably thought he was dead when they tied him to the fence post. That's why they left him alive. He probably was unconscious or in a coma or whatever,
Well,
because he never regained
he-
consciousness. So I think that if it was a crime like that was so horrific that someone did and didn't care about the other person, they should pay for what they did. It's just simple as that.
I'm gonna see if I could find a video I watched yesterday. I'll play some of it. Um, I can find. There's my history. It's a video of one of the killers saying how sorry he was. If I can, it doesn't look like. Well, maybe it's not in my history. I don't know how that happens. Let me check my other account. Maybe it's in the history on my other channel. Well, I know I watched it, but I don't see it.
No, that
Uh,
wasn't one of the videos that you sent me, so I don't. I
well,
haven't seen that before.
it was a video of just one of the guys from prison, like saying how sorry he was. And, when people are in prison and they're apologizing, I don't necessarily believe it. Um, so
Hmm.
I don't know. I should be able to find it again if I can just get back to the regular YouTube channel page. Wow.
Now the videos that you sent me yesterday, they had massive viewers, on
Those are
YouTube.
massive channels. I think they got so many views just by saying the opposite of what everyone else was saying. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, there's
Um,
I don't know what the
but
term is. Are they like between the left and the right, but they're the opposite side of what everyone else is, I think. but I think I found it, the video. Let me see if I could share it.
Okay.
Wait, is that? Yeah, this is it. I'm going to skip some of it.
Matthew didn't deserve any of this. And I'm so ashamed that I was ever a part of this. He was a human being. He was a son. He was a brother. He was a friend. He had many.
See, when you hear that, it's like he is a reasonable guy, right? It's
Right.
crazy. And I mean, you don't end up in prison being reasonable. I mean, right now he's probably not on drugs.
People that loved him, and his life mattered. And I think about Matthew every single day of my life.
I kind of believe that, because you're in prison and you don't have anything else to think about except for why you got there.
We encourage
Right. That's true.
everyone to atone for what they've done and to
The rest of
act
the
out of
video is about a group who I think ministers to people in prison, tries to, I don't know what the term is, but they help people find forgiveness and forgive themselves for these things too. I don't know that they should forgive themselves for what they did. I mean, this was just an ordinary guy, and they took his life for almost no reason at all. If any reason at all, if it was drugs or money or theft or something like that that started it, I can't imagine it being anything other than what they say it is, a hate crime.
Right. So yeah. When you think of something like that, you think of the worst possible thing that could happen. And I haven't seen, or I mean, maybe I just don't remember something so tragic and heinous that was so. It seemed like they were like posing him, tying him to the fence. Why not just leave him on the ground if you're beating him to death? Why put him on the fence? Why tie him to the fence? That doesn't make any sense to me. Unless you wanted him to be found.
I think they tied him up because they needed to control him. And then after a certain point, they didn't need to keep him tied up, but they didn't even bother untying him. I don't know why
So you
people
think
are
he
like,
got tied up first and then beat?
oh yeah, I think they had, I mean, I imagine he fought back at least a little bit, even if he's weak. As far as I know, he was
Yeah.
very small, short, and, lightweight even.
Right.
But I imagine they had to tie him down still, because even a puppy is going to bite you if you keep attacking it, right? So I imagine
Right.
there's no possible way that he didn't fight back, at least try to fight back. These guys were much
Right.
bigger than him. I mean, he had no chance at all. And then the fact that they had to tie him down seems like they wanted to torture him before he died. And if you read some of the reports, his genitals were bruised from, I mean, that's why it seems more like a hate crime to the medical examiner, because that's not something you would see if it was any other reason. I mean, it's just bizarre. Miss Olga says one is forgiven in Dodge too. She's referring to Chris Watts. What do you know about Chris Watts?
Me?
Yeah.
I know that he killed his wife because he had a girlfriend and killed his children. And I wouldn't say. I'd say he's a pretty bad person. But I believe their bodies were recovered. Um, I'm trying to think, but I think he strangled his children. Is that correct?
I believe he smothered
Suffocated
them,
them.
and then he disposed of their bodies in oil tanks at his work
Right,
site, and he
right,
buried his wife in a shallow grave. Um,
right.
but I know if we shift to Chris Watts, we'll probably get a bunch more people watching. Um, I Let me see what I got on my close on hand. If I got anything, I can um, just give you like a preview of that case, because the reason why people like that case so much is because the drama involved in it. And
He didn't seem like a killer, especially when his wife first went missing. Being on the news. He didn't seem that he was that way, but uh, you can never tell what's underneath someone's skin these days.
this is Chris Watts. He just had a lie detector test done on him, and they told him that he couldn't lie anymore because they knew he did it because of the lie detector test.
Right.
And they walked out of the room, got his father, that's the man in the blue shirt, and while they were out of the room, he whispers to his dad that he did it.
Hmm.
I don't know, the
I
volume
do
seems kind of
remember
low.
this. Yes.
Um, Let me see if I can find one more video.
Did the hard part.
Let's see.
When he left details where they're at.
We can help you get him out of the cold.
I can't hear what they're saying.
There's no bringing them back.
I guess
Oh,
one of
there
the
we go.
detectives, she said to tell him where they're at, and she put her hand on his shoulder.
That first location I went to that day.
Where at?
That's 3319.
Yeah, I could barely hear it.
That location.
Yeah, Chris
Asking
Watts,
him where
that
they're at.
man just makes me angry. Every time I see him and I hear him confess, the way he talks about it, it just really bothers me.
Where would he find them there?
But we were talking about Noah Pressgrove a few weeks back.
Right.
Have you spoke to their family at all?
What fucking do?
I spoke to Noah's mother
Why
back
would you hurt my fucking
in
girl?
late 2024. That hasn't been released yet. It was shelved for a little while. She was in rehab for alcohol, and they didn't allow her any access to media. But somehow she was able to record an episode with us through a phone that someone had let her borrow. So that should be coming up on the Original Sin podcast soon. Um, and there was a point where she was crying and she said that, they bashed my son's head in, and, it was very emotional, and, that they knocked out his teeth, and um, all the things she was saying and breaking down, and it was hard to see. It really was. It was hard to see.
I'm trying to find. I just made some videos on this guy, so I could play one for you. Party would remember the body's position with photographic clarity. Something about how it lay there felt fundamentally wrong. The pre-dawn This is humidity just of a short September 4th, 2023
Mm-hmm.
pressed explainer against video.
the
Oklahoma asphalt
Okay.
as Hardy tried to process what he was seeing. What disturbed him most wasn't just finding someone's dead body on the shoulder of U.S. Highway 81. It was the complete absence of explanation. Welcome to Timeless Mysteries. Please like and subscribe. Today we discuss the baffling death of 19-year-old Noah Presgrove. Was this a tragic accident or a small town cover-up? You don't. This was definitely some kind of cover-up. There was
Right.
from it's almost hard not to believe it's a cover-up. I mean, I guess there's always the possibility that somehow he got hit by a car and he didn't scrape any parts of his body in the process and lost all of his clothes, but retained his shoes somehow. I mean, I imagine
And
it
there
could
were two
happen,
mixed shoes.
right?
Yeah. And,
It
maybe
doesn't
an
make,
alternate reality.
well, you
I
know,
don't
like
think so.
weird things happen sometimes,
Right.
where it shouldn't have happened, but it's not physical. It shouldn't be physically possible for things to happen. And then somehow it does. Like, for example, somebody flies out through a windshield in their car and the car rolls like 18 times and they don't have a scrape on their body. How does that happen? So, I mean, there is that small possibility. I would say it's not, I would say it's very unlikely that there's a scenario where he landed on the edge of the road there in that rural
Mhm.
town of Oklahoma
Mhm.
by himself. Like, I don't see him walking from the house without any clothes on either. But then again, he
Right.
was intoxicated. They were ATV racing. And apparently he rolled one of those side by sides, which is like
Right.
it's kind of like a four-wheeler, but it's got a cab and usually a bed in the back where you can, haul firewood and stuff like that if you wanted to. My first thought was that maybe he didn't survive that and then he got staged by the highway to cover it up. But if that was the case, then his girlfriend, I believe, would have had to have lied, because she said that he came back and that he took a shower, he changed his clothes, and then they got into a big argument and he left. Eh, Um,
Mhm.
if that didn't happen, then it would make sense that he died in the vehicle, the ATV accident. But then everyone
Right.
at the party who was involved would have had to cover it up as well. Um, I don't know. They say that if you are in an accident like that, um, your mind goes through things and you might not be thinking properly. So after that accident, he took a shower, he got back to himself, and then he went for a walk, or he went to do something, or he thought, let's go race those things some more. I don't know. I mean, um, it's an
But
interesting story.
yeah, the only thing is that the police never found his clothes. Or did they find his clothes? It was folded,
They only
right?
found his
It was
underwear.
they found his underwear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
So
he had mismatched shoes and his underwear,
mismatched
which had
shoes.
no tears on it also. So I've heard of people getting hit by cars and then they fly out of their clothes. Like, not all of them, but some of them, especially shoes and things like that. Um, I guess
But how do you
my
explain the mismatched shoes?
that could be a drunken mistake. Who knows? That could be just random.
Possibly. Yeah.
That could be random. But um, the truck driver who calls it in, if you listen to that call, it doesn't sound like he knew anything about the case. But my first thought before I heard that 911 call was that maybe the truck driver who reported it hit him and then, pretended like he didn't. But whoever hit it, if it was an accident, there's two problems with that. One, there's no scrapes on the boy's body. Like, he would have had some road
Right.
rash somewhere because he had
Right.
to land on the road to end up on the road.
Right.
And the other issue is there was no debris at all. Cars are designed to crumple and break, and it sounds like, when you think of a car breaking down in an accident, they're designed to, compact at a slower speed that saves you somehow. I don't know how to explain. I don't know the math or the way that the things are designed, but they crumple in a way that makes it safer for you and easier for you to survive a car accident. With that said, pieces of the car are going to break off. They wouldn't necessarily
Right.
break off of a big, 18-wheeler. Those things are huge. They're just a big giant steel bumper, and the front part of the car with anything that could break is probably 3 or 4 feet off the ground. The other thing is there was only, like, his upper body was the only part of him that had bruises. If he got hit by a car,
Okay.
I mean, it's most likely going to hit him in the midsection. So there should have been something that happened to his legs, and there was no evidence of that. So I have no doubt that this was some sort of cover up. And I feel very bad for the family. I know that right now they're trying to get all of the police records for a civil case, where they've named several people as conspirators, and I don't understand why it is not a criminal case at all. It makes no sense. There's no real evidence of foul play, but there's no evidence that it was just an accident either. His body is
So,
lying on the side of the road, and it looks like somebody put him there.
right. That's what I was going to say. It looks like it was kind of like staged because they found his teeth. They found minimal blood. His head had been uh, damaged. It was sort of like caved in the back, but minimal blood. So it seemed to me that he was put there by his friends. Um, but that's just my opinion. I mean, he was last seen with his friends and his girlfriend, and I think the lawsuit that his family has launched is against everybody that was at that house. So, from what I understand, everybody's not named in the lawsuit. They're named under like letters or something.
I think there's like
But
9 people that have been named,
have
and
they been unnamed? Okay.
I think they have. They might put initials in the court documents, but not because it's private or anything, just because that's just how they probably do. There's probably, I remember seeing names. I don't remember where. I don't have that document. I spent a lot of time working on that story, trying to find stuff. And the last thing I found out was about this hearing that's coming in January, where the family's trying to get the city to release the investigation records, which they're fighting. They filed a motion to not do it. And I think what could happen is the judge might say, well, I'm going to look at it and I'll tell you guys if there's something that the family needs to see. And if that happens, either they're going to find something or they're not, or the conspiracy gets bigger and somebody else hides more evidence. But I don't know why they wouldn't release that information if there wasn't something to hide. Somebody messed up. If it could be something simple like that. Whoever investigated it messed up, and now they're covering that part up. But the idea that they did find a tooth, that tells me that there probably was a crime scene and somebody cleaned it up pretty well. I don't think they would have been able to clean up blood, though. So how did the tooth get there without blood on the crime scene? Because that's not going to just come out of your mouth without, part of your jaw, right?
Yeah, some people have suggested that he was hit by the butt of a gun, and I don't know if you saw the video from the party. On Daily Mail released a video. We actually put it on our Facebook site. This was like a year or so ago. And there was one individual that had a rifle in the one of his friends that had a rifle in the video. So some people have said that they think that it was sort of a rifle. They're not saying that it's that particular person, but some sort of rifle or gun that knocked out his teeth like that. 'Cause that it just doesn't seem normal. Um, Even if you're hit by an 18 wheeler, yeah, you're gonna have more damage. Um, you're gonna have more damage to your body. His upper body was the only thing that was um, messed up and destroyed. His lower body was not. And then on top of it, his naked mixed match shoes. Um, there's a little bit of blood there, so that seems to me that he was moved to that part of the highway where they probably thought, he was just dumped there, and they probably thought that someone would find him or wouldn't find him, since it was a desolate highway. But who knows?
Yeah, I wish I could. I don't know. I don't save my files in any easy to find way, unfortunately, and I don't know. I guess I could play it from my channel. But where I talk about the where is it? I think I played the one. Wow, they're not even in order. Okay, that's not going to work. I'll just pull it off from my Google Drive, I think. Wow. Okay, so that's going to be a big fail. I don't know where the short is, but it should be like I don't see it. That is weird. I found it.
Okay.
So weird. It's like it's hidden for some reason. But
An eye-opening experience.
They are
Speaking to
not
the family of Noah.
investigating the mysterious death of an Oklahoma teen as a murder.
And it is mysterious.
A critical hearing is coming in early January 2026 in the wrongful death lawsuit filed by Noah Presgrove's family, a hearing that could make or break the case. The family recently subpoenaed the entire OSBI investigative file. every document, every piece of evidence from Noah's mysterious death in 2023. But the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation is moving to block it, citing Oklahoma Statute 74, Section 150.5, which keeps investigative records confidential and generally.
I did look up that statute to make sure I had it right. That is accurate. You could look it up too if you guys are so inclined. I could not find a case number to verify the court date out of all of this. So it does look like I've got it from several different local news stations where they said that there's supposed to be a hearing. I want to say on the 6th of January.
Highway accident.
They
This would
are
explain
not
the state.
investigating the mysterious death of an Oklahoma
Confidential and generally prohibits release in civil cases. The state has precedent on its side, but it's not absolute. Here's where it gets interesting. The judge could still review the entire file privately in an in-camera review and decide what's relevant without releasing anything publicly. And if OSBI already shared parts of the file with anyone else, a DA, local law enforcement, a medical examiner, or an outside lab, that might have waived their privilege, potentially allowing some information to become public. Basically, there are cracks in the wall of secrecy, and the family's attorneys could use them. If you followed this case from the beginning or you've just heard about it today, there's really only one big question that begs to be brought from out of the shadows. Is this a legal formality or further proof of a cover-up in the mysterious death of Noah Pressgrove?
Yeah, that in camera thing that I mentioned, that's what they call it when a judge reviews evidence. They do that sometimes, I think, before trials, before hearings and things like that. Even,
Right.
you know, it's not always just like jury stuff. But I spent a lot of time on this one. I spent a couple of weeks on it, and I've got like a 20-minute video that I made on this tragedy. You know, it's really, I grew up
Right.
in a small town, and I know what it's like to go to these parties with, you know, and I know how people get out in a small town. You know, the wrong guy messes with the wrong girl and they're not from there. They get, you know, a beat down or something. And as far as I know, this happened, like 45 minutes from where he lived. So he wasn't at his, like in his town, right?
He was close. I think it was a mile away from the house, the party house where he was located, a mile or two. I'm not sure where he actually lived, actually, off the top of my head.
I know there was people from both Texas and from Oklahoma at the party, and that there were relationships where people had broke up with somebody and started dating somebody else. Those kind of relationships were there, so there was the possibility of some kind of jealousy causing a conflict. But I saw the videos too where he looks like he's just hanging out, having fun, doing goofy things. You know, I saw videos of him where he's not wearing pants and he's getting people to sign his butt and stuff like that. I saw a girl
Yeah, I
slapping
did
him
see that. Yeah.
just to see how hard she could do it, and somebody videoed it, and he just stood there and took it. Like, you know, it just seemed like stupid stuff that people do at parties. I didn't see anything in those limited videos that there was some sort of conflict going on, or that anybody thought that there was going to be any kind of, you know, problem. I just think that something probably happened. If I had to guess, I would say that ATV accident was probably what happened to him, and then they staged the body. But then that would have taken a lot of people. If somebody did beat him up and beat him with the butt of a rifle, that would be consistent with all of the upper body bruising and stuff.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but he was about to go into I want to say the Army, definitely the military. I don't remember what branch,
Right.
but
He
he
was gonna
was.
sign up for that.
I think he was already signed up, right?
That I don't know. I do know that he had recently graduated from high school. He went to this 3-day Labor Day party, and had been there, and then that's where he was last seen. Was at that party. So, but it just seems kind of weird that his body would come up so close to the house where he was, and even if he, he was in that AT, um, that what do you call that thing? The vehicle
A
accident.
side by side.
The,
Have you
yeah,
seen pictures of that? Like, how bad was that accident?
I have not seen pictures of that. I have not seen any released. However, there's one strange thing that sticks out to me. There's one of the girls at the party that was questioned by the police when they found Noah's body, and she had erased her phone. And she did it so well that she couldn't even remember her boyfriend's number to have him pick her up because she erased everything out of her phone. Why are you erasing stuff out of your phone? If you're not involved in something or you don't, are you, do you know what's going on and you're not saying? It doesn't make sense. You know,
That
why give the
is
police
suspicious.
a phone that's been erased and they couldn't
Um,
recover the data?
so is that actually in some police report somewhere that this girl had a phone that had deleted information and it was suspicious, but then they
It
never.
was on a news report that I saw.
It was
It
what?
was on a news report that I saw.
Okay. Because they can sometimes recover some of that information. I would like to know what was on her phone that she deleted. Who deletes a phone at a party where everyone's drinking?
Right.
This wasn't the girlfriend though, right? This was a
No, it
different.
wasn't the girlfriend. It's just someone else. I don't remember their names, but yeah, it was someone else. But she was the
Yeah,
only one out of all of them that had deleted her phone, or that it was reported that she had deleted her phone, and they couldn't recover the data in her phone. So it begs to differ. What was in the phone? What did she take video of? What did she take pictures of that she needed to delete it before the police got there? You know.
that is very peculiar. I hadn't heard anything about that. Um, let's see. I'll play some of the video. You guys can watch this video on my channel. I don't know if you saw it yet, Kai, but I tried to get everything accurate. Oh
Hmm.
wait, it's not quite
I
ready
haven't
for
watched it
me.
yet. No.
It's I spent a lot of time on it and I did a lot of research. I tried to research as best as I could. Like if I could get a case number, I could do more, I could find more information, but I don't know which family member filed the lawsuit, so I can't figure out. I couldn't find it. I couldn't find any case number for the civil case that's ongoing right now because that should be public record and I should be able to access it, at least like next dates and stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
and I couldn't find it. So, whoops, I did it again. I mean, I just gotta open this on a different tab and then I can share it. So this case, the Noah Pressgrove case, has been covered by some of the bigger channels here, and I think it's gaining traction because people are starting to notice how mysterious everything is about it. Um, I think I liked investigating this one because every time I thought I understood what was actually happening, I found a little piece of information that kind of stood out as, oh, well, that makes this scenario not work. And it's like that
Right.
for everything. So the only thing that makes sense to me now, somebody knows something and nobody's doing anything about it. And that is a tragedy, not just in the loss of a life of somebody, but the family who survived that want closure.
Right.
We live in America, and these kinds of things aren't supposed to happen. When a crime happens, they're supposed to be solved in a reasonable amount of time. I know that sometimes some crimes are hard to, they can't always find the killer. They can't always figure out what happened, but they at least try most of the time. This one feels like they're not even trying. And it's kind of sad. I mean, what if this was me and somebody wanted to know what happened to me and there's just no answer? It's horrible to think of that. But here, I'm going to go and play some of this.
Okay.
Maybe.
This September, 2 years since the body of Noah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead with the video.
Pressgrove was found on the side of a highway.
Noah Pressgrove was 19 when a truck driver found him on a highway in Terrell, Oklahoma.
Tyler Hardy would remember the body's position with photographic clarity. Something about how it lay there felt fundamentally wrong. The pre-dawn humidity of September 4th, 2023 pressed against the Oklahoma asphalt as Hardy tried to process what he was seeing.
Jumped down the road and I had a bunch of cars behind me, but it looked like somebody got hit, like somebody walking down the highway, like on the shoulder of the road.
It looked like somebody's laying in the road?
So, like on the shoulder, like maybe they were walking and somebody hit them.
What disturbed him most wasn't...
See, before I heard that 911 call, like that gentleman on the phone doesn't have any, like in his voice, there's no like, it doesn't sound like he's hiding anything. So either A, he's a very good liar, or he actually just saw something that looked like a person lying on the road while he drove by. And I think that's exactly what that was.
Right.
Just finding someone's dead body on the shoulder of U.S. Highway 81
Robert,
was the complete...
Go ahead.
I'm just sending you something. Go ahead with the video.
Oh, okay.
I'll explain in just a second.
Absence of explanation. Welcome to Timeless Mysteries. Please like and subscribe. Today we discuss the baffling death of 19-year-old Noah Pressgrove. Was this a tragic accident or a small town cover-up? You don't want to miss this.
Pressgrove's body was found near Highway 81 in Jefferson County in September of 2023. Oklahoma Highway Patrol is investigating the death, but they are not investigating it as a murder.
It's hard to imagine a scene like this one. There was no glass fragments glittering in his headlights. No paint streaks marked the pavement. No tire marks carved into the earth or the asphalt. Just a boy lying on the side of the road, 19-year-old Noah Pressgrove, wearing nothing but mismatched slip-on shoes. His white shorts were discovered intact in the travel lane. There was no blood, no tears, no sign of violent removal. The scene violated every principle of vehicle trauma Hardy had witnessed in his 20 years of driving these rural highways. The forensic incongruities would haunt Jefferson County Sheriff Jeremy Wilson for months. Here was catastrophic trauma without any of the signatures that should accompany it. The surrounding area showed no characteristic evidence of high-speed road contact. Minor.
So these are all the things that, I would already been talking about. It's just crazy that there was, it really looks like somebody just left him there. Or at the very least, somebody had to go through and pick up every little thing that, every little broken piece of glass and plastic from a car. And they just happened to miss a tooth, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem possible. This would have been in the dark. So unless they have massive lights, they're not going to be able to get everything, or at least even 80% of everything. I would guess.
Right.
But I got this link. It looks like to your Facebook post about this case, right?
Yes, it's actually the autopsy report on Noah Presgrove. I didn't know if you had looked at that before.
I have seen. Oh, I see it down there. Yeah, let me see. I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere also. Let me see if I could share that real quick. Actually, I have to close something first. Well, I don't think there's any way I can do that without sharing my whole Facebook page with all my Facebook friends. I don't think I can actually share that.
Okay, I understand.
But wait, maybe I can. Okay, so I think I figured it out. Let me try this again. Okay, now it looks like a regular page. But this is the report, and I believe it several pages. I think there's some more pages too.
Right.
Whoops. Yeah, this I've definitely seen. And the one thing that I thought was a little weird was it doesn't say Noah Presgrove on this. So the first time I found this, I didn't think I was looking at the right person. So I'm guessing his last name is hyphenated, maybe.
His from what I understand, talking to his mother, that is his Presgrove. He took on the Presgrove name. I believe that's his stepfather's name, but his name wasn't officially changed, I believe.
Oh, I see. But yeah, he was 19 years old. He was from Terrell, Oklahoma. And this is, I'm going to have to move my camera. Sorry, guys. Maybe I can do this a different way. I'll just read this because I know you guys can't see it that well. But I did post a link to it, so you guys can click on it and look at it yourselves. But this is the autopsy report. This is the findings that it goes into detail on what those findings are on these other pages. But I mean, the basic summary, I'll read that. There was broad abrasions to the upper back containing black material. So that actually sounds like some kind of road rash to me. I don't know what that means. Abrasion showing combined linear and various sized pinpoints around from round to irregular individual patterns involving the upper back, shoulder, posterior left arm, and torso. The broad abrasions containing something sounds like road rash to me. I'm not sure why everything I've read other than this, I might not have seen this actual thing. And there is a case number there, but I don't know that that's a civil case number. So now I feel like I need to go back and look up more information because they said that he had no like road rash, and if he's got black material inside of his, like on his upper back, he could have gotten hit by something and slid across the ground. And I don't know what the black material is. It probably isn't rocks. If it was, they would have said rocks. There was abrasions. Yeah, I don't know that I don't think I saw this one, because this is a little different from what I saw. Everything happened like from like the chest up. This is
Mhm.
showing some minor damage, that's waist and lower.
Right. Now there's a like a summary of the police report that a retired forensic psychologist that works with us wrote. She basically dumbed it down, the autopsy report. I don't know if it's there. It should be in that same post, but it's somewhere in there. I'm not sure where it's at though.
Yeah, the one I saw was much shorter than this, so I don't think I saw the whole thing. This is really interesting, and I would need more time to kind of look at it.
Right.
But I know he did have a high. That's like twice the legal limit almost right there for the
Right.
blood alcohol. And I don't think he had any other drugs in his system or anything. I think that's what that means, none detected. But they did test for other drugs. Is that all of it? Is that back to the beginning? Yeah. But I need to read this a little more in detail because the way I understood it, there was almost no visible like injuries, like besides bruising. And I would like to read that dumbed down version. I guess I could
Yeah, I
read
think
the
it's in the post itself. If you're able to go to that. I
Well,
think this is an attachment.
I can
I don't know if
pull
you
it
can see the
up, but
post.
I don't want to like share
You
my
don't want to show your Facebook.
my
Yeah,
whole
I
Facebook.
understand.
But I can probably read it if it's in the post. Can you just tell me what paragraph it is? The autopsy report. Is it
Actually,
written
let
by
me go back real
Patricia?
quick. Yeah, Dr. Patricia Goodell. She's a retired forensic psychologist that works with us, and she wrote her report, based on the autopsy report.
Okay,
And
that I
it's
can read. If you'd like me to, or you could read it if you would rather.
sure if you want me to.
Okay.
It says layman autopsy report of Noah Alexander Nicholas, and then Press Groves is in parentheses, written by Patricia A. Grinnell, PhD. There are partial or complete tearing away of the skin and tissue beneath it on the left top of the head, typically occurring during a violent incident. There were scraped areas located immediately below the left eyebrow, corner of the left eye and cheek, in front of the left ear. In addition, cuts on the side of the neck. Scraping or tearing away of the skin appeared on the right back of his head, behind the right ear, uh, and the back of the neck. He had broken upper and lower teeth and had scraping or tearing wound in the middle or of the upper lip and a cut to the lower lip. There was a cut or slice of tissue removed on the surface of his tongue, likely caused by a sharp object or a fall or blunt trauma. There were deep bruises in areas on the sides of his head and back and frontal regions of the head that bled. There were fractures on the left side and frontal bones of his head. The skull was split into two at the base of the head, and one of the 22 bones that formed the skull had helped to hold the content of the brains intact was severed. There was a broken area in the back of the base of the head where the spinal cord passes through. There were additionally separate fractures of two oval-shaped bony protrusions on the underside of the skull, which form a vital connection between the various parts of the brain. Both sides of the brain were bruised in the fluid-filled parts of the brain in which the membranes and major blood vessels are located. There was swelling of the brain and multiple cuts on the left side, the brain stem, and the vessels. She goes on saying breaks in the um, cervical column bones of the neck were in C1, also known as the atlas fracture, often occurring after a motor vehicle accident, and C2, also known as a hangman's fracture, the second vertebrae of the neck that occurs when the head is forcefully snapped up and back, which usually occurs in car accidents or diving incidents. There was a break in the lower two vertebrae of the neck, C6 and C7. The break in C7 is survivable. However, the C6 break affects the spinal cord near the base of the neck and can result in the sensation of body functions from the top of the rib cage from the top of the rib cage down. There was air present in the spinal canal. It's almost over. The torso showed broad areas of scraping away of the upper back, shoulder, back of the arm, and the left side. There were scraping types of injuries of the right buttock and pinpoint types of injuries on the left, on the side and left buttock. There was also cuts on both lungs, pulmonary vessels, heart, spleen, and stomach. There was bruising at the back of the upper chest cavity. There was about 5 ounces of blood in the chest cavity. About 7 ounces of blood had accumulated in the space between the abdominal wall and the organs. Both shoulders were broken. He had rib fractures on both sides of the rib cage. There was evidence of 8 broken bones in the spinal midsection. Air had leaked into the space between the lungs and chest wall. His extremities had areas where the skin was scraped away on the right arm, forearm, left elbow, thigh, knee, leg, and right foot, right of the side of the right ankle, and side of the right hip. On the back of the heel, there was a bruise consistent with a blow to it. There was no fractured limbs. All of these injuries are consistent with being in an ATV rollover accident, with the addition of them being repeatedly beaten about the head, face, and neck with a blunt object. And that's her report, Dr. Patricia now. Dumbing it down for us.
Yeah, that is kind of insane. It sounds like I was, as I was listening, it sounded like whoops, sorry, wrong one. I didn't mean to remove you. It sounded like she was like saying, well, this sounds like it was an ATV rollover accident, which actually happened. But then when she goes on that it looks like he got beat in the head afterwards, that's where it gets a little weird.
Right.
Because where did all those injuries come from? I mean, he must have, I still kind of think that he didn't survive that accident and they covered it up. And that's why there's minimal blood at the crime scene where they found the body. They put him there to make it look like he'd gotten drunk and ran off naked and got ran over. But I don't know. This case is bizarre. I hope that they will figure out who did it and how and why it was covered up. And I don't know. It's hard to say that it is a cover up with absolute certainty. There is always the potential that it was an accident, but it just doesn't look like it.
Right.
I did read about most of those head injuries and the upper body injuries. I didn't see anything about plastic debris being in, but I don't know, or it didn't say plastic, did it? It said black debris. It didn't say what it was. But I guess maybe that could have been from the butt of a rifle, right? There's some kind of black rubber on those things, I think.
That's correct.
That's correct. I don't know. The moral of this story is don't go to parties. Don't get drunk.
Right.
Don't go to a stranger's house. Don't race ATVs.
Yeah. He may have been seriously injured in an ATV accident and then finished off. Maybe they they wanted to show him mercy or something. They wanted to help him. I don't know. People are crazy
That
these days.
I would have never thought of that. That's kind of a
Because she
whole nother
said that
level of
after the ATV, yeah, that there was bruising, with from blunt force trauma. So, um, but you never know what somebody can do. Look at, we started off talking about Matthew Shepard and what happened to him. People will do the craziest and the wildest things to other people.
Yeah, the Noah Pressgrove case is much different than the Matthew Shepard case, but at the end of both stories, it's kind of the same outcome. The big difference is we know who the killers were in one, and we don't know if there was a killer in the other. I'm inclined to think that this was some sort of either cover up, which is a crime. If somebody died in an ATV accident and they try to stage it and make it look like some kind of other crime to not go to jail, or whatever would happen if you accidentally die in an ATV accident when you're drunk. I don't know why they would want to pursue it that way and cover it up rather than just call 911 and get somebody out there to make sure that he's, I mean, I don't think you would go to prison forever for that, but you hide a body and you change a crime scene and you cover up stuff like that. That's a whole nother level of crimes. So if he did survive that rollover accident, why is there no videos of him after that? There's only people who said they saw him. I know they said that he showered, that he had, defecated himself during the accident. That, I guess, could happen, but how do they know that happened? Other than what people said, was there actual clothing with that stuff in it that they could say that, yes, he was in the shower somehow? I don't believe it. I don't really believe it.
It's possible that he did die in the ATV accident and they attempted to make it look like he was hit by a car by bruising his upper body with some blunt object, and putting him in the in the side of the road. So someone would think, oh, he got hit by a car. That's it. His life is over. His accident. But I don't think that is that simple.
I think that makes more sense than anything else I've heard right there. They added the trauma to the head to make it look more like a car accident, but I still don't see the need for that extra damage. And the rollover doesn't really explain the damage to his head specifically, unless somehow it got like crunched in the rollover, like, it's
But you got to remember that these were a bunch of teenagers that had been drinking for 3 days. It was a 3-day party. They were staying at this one house. The parents were gone, and they had been drinking for 3 days. They probably were not in their right mind, and decided that instead of calling the police and the police coming and finding everybody drunk, to put his body in the road.
I think
he died in an ATV accident.
At the very least, they might have gotten, they were all minors, I think, right? Most of them were under 21.
There was a lot of minors.
So they probably got a minor in consumption and then operating vehicle under the influence. And I don't know what happens if somebody dies when you're, I guess if you were the one driving and the boy died, then you might be looking at prison time. But I don't know why the rest of the group would have protected one person for that. That's a lot of, that's something that you got to live with for the rest of your life. I don't know why. I mean, I don't think I could
Right.
hide that or want that on my conscience for life. But I guess when you look at it like that, there is a reason to cover up the crime. Somebody else was driving. They all said that it was Noah driving, but somebody else was driving. There was a rollover accident. He died, and then they covered it up. I think that is
Right.
actually the simplest possible answer right there.
Right.
Because you
But
got to imagine people lie. We've got one person that I didn't know this before, but she had deleted everything on her phone. Maybe she filmed the race
mhm,
with the other driver.
maybe it's possible. It's possible.
And if I was law enforcement, I would be double checking that it didn't get automatically saved to a cloud somewhere. Most of
Right.
my photos do.
But the weird thing is that after all of this, and the parents refuse to let the children talk, especially the minors, to the police. The case has stalled and hasn't gone anywhere. They have officially stated that he was not hit by a car. They don't believe he was hit by a car. His death is suspicious, but they don't believe it to be a murder. But that doesn't make any sense. It's either he was either hit by a car, or if it was a murder or some sort of accident. So you know,
Well, the
I would
autopsy
understand the family's frustration that wanted to sue. Go ahead.
report suggests that it was an ATV accident,
Right.
plus something extra. I have, since I've started looking into this case, like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've been working on it for a while. I started, I think, back at the beginning of November, but my first logical conclusion was he never really came back to the house.
hmm
What you just told me makes everything fit that better.
Right.
I bet somebody lied about who was driving. And if you kill somebody in a DUI an ATV, drinking and driving, an ATV is going to be still an operating a vehicle. That's still going to be a
hmm
DUI or OUI, whatever your state calls it. Here in Anchorage or Alaska, they call them operating under the influence. I think sometimes there's like a felony DUI. But if you kill somebody in one of those, it's a whole nother thing. I haven't looked into any of those types of crimes where somebody dies in an OUI to see what happens to the person who did it. I assume they go to
hmm
jail for some period of time. But
Right.
even if it was an accident and it was an operating under the influence thing where somebody died because of you, like that crime is still it's a much smaller crime than trying to cover up a crime scene and then getting other people to, conspire to cover it up, also. I know
Right.
that most of the people were under 21. I didn't know that there was any that was under 18. If there are any of the people who are under 18, that would be a whole different thing, and that would like their names would be protected. They wouldn't
Right.
be public record. Everything would be sealed. I think for minors, but
Right.
um, the other kids that are under 21, they're adults, and they should have been questioned more thoroughly. I think now
Yeah.
I'm, even more sure of everything I just said. I'm more sure that he never made it back to the house, unless there's somebody who's got footage of him after. I think that was like
hmm
what 3:15 or something. After that, like there's a text that says, "Hey, has anybody seen Noah?" That's the last text of anybody in that group, supposedly, where
hmm
they talk about him.
Yeah.
And supposedly they knew he was missing within 15 minutes. So if you look at it from that point of view, it's like, well, that makes it even more mysterious. What really happened to him? But I just don't see him walking outside naked. I
Right.
don't see him, I don't know. Maybe they were all driving these ATVs naked. That is something drunk people might do. I wouldn't, but then
Right.
again, I wouldn't let somebody slap me just to see if I could take it for, somebody to record that. But I mean,
Right.
people do stupid stuff when they're kids. They do stupid stuff when they're drunk. And I don't know. I just think when it comes out, what really happened, because I think it will eventually. I think this case is getting more and more national news. This is a small town crime, and it's taken a lot of time for people to notice it. But I showed that clip of my video. Those 2 clips. Those are big channels. That's national news when they get onto those platforms. And I think it's going to get even bigger, especially if they can release some of that information on the investigation, or a judge gets to see it and says, hey, there is something here. We're going to have to do something about it. But I think a lot of times what happens in these cases, if something in the investigation gets missed, the county doesn't want people to know that they screwed up. So they cover it up even further and make it more and more complicated.
Right.
But I just can't understand if he did die in an ATV rollover. I don't know why anyone would think that they needed to make it look more like he got hit by a car by hitting him in the head with something. I think being in a car accident is going to make it look like he's in a car accident, and he was in a car accident. So I think they probably could have just, I don't know,
Left him where it was.
maybe the head wounds is going to be what gets the case, cracked open and people become held accountable. It's really a tragic story. You guys, if you haven't watched my Noah Presgrove video, you should. It's pretty good. Let me see if I can. Is this it?
This.
Nope, that's not it. I had it on here. I'll share some more of it because I go into. I get a lot of detail on that. Where is it? Scratches were found on the body, grass stains on the shoes, mud in the treads. These suggested movement through terrain, not impact with a vehicle. Most troubling was the clothing separation itself. Somebody had undressed this body, or this body had undressed itself. Neither explanation made sense given what else they were seeing. In death investigation, the concept of staged scenes occupies a particular corner of forensic psychology, the intersection where panic meets calculation, where killers attempt to rewrite physical reality. The Highway 81 crime scene exhibited all the hallmarks of staging, the body's placement just beyond the fog line, visible enough for discovery, but positioned to suggest a pedestrian strike.
His remains were in terrible shape, and Noah's cause of death is listed as multiple blunt force injuries, possibly from a vehicle strike.
The clothing separation, the preservation of slip-on footwear despite forces that evidence suggested should have removed them. Tyler Hardy's 5:43 a.m. call to dispatch captured the uncertainty. Awfully odd. A caller minutes later, I'm pretty sure there's somebody lying dead on the road. Neither witness could reconcile what they saw with the typical highway fatality patterns. By 6 a.m., law enforcement had established a perimeter. The body lay close enough to the travel lane that responding units blocked off traffic. The medical evidence would later indicate death had occurred at least 30 minutes prior, possibly longer. Deputies recovered fragments of a silver chain necklace, a partial tooth, strands of sandy blonde hair adhering to the asphalt.
So, yeah, this case, if you guys haven't looked into it, look into it. It is a mystery, and it will be solved soon. But Kai, I think I'm gonna have to get going. We've been here for almost 2 hours.
Right.
You know, I know we intended to talk about Matthew Shepard. I think that story is tragic. It's just kind of hard to talk about it, I guess. The mystery has been solved on that one. Cases like this,
Right.
This is an interesting case, and I hope that the family gets closure. And I hope they find out what really happened, or at least come up with some kind of explanation that can give the family closure. I don't think the police report, I don't think the medical examiner report, anything is going to do that until somebody who knows what happened can't live with themselves anymore and has to say something.
True. Very true.
But I do want to thank you for being on the show today. Guys, I want to thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I don't usually cut my live streams into multiple pieces, but I might actually do that for this one because we kind of got two halves. I think, I wouldn't mind talking about this case again in the future if you wanted to, especially if you can get, one of the family members to give us some clues about what's going on behind the scenes in the courthouse and stuff like that. That would be amazing. I really hope. Wait, what? What is this? What are you guys talking about? I wasn't watching the chat, and then I see this. Who sent what? I'm just messing with you guys. I think they were talking about Chris Watts. But I am going to be doing something with Chris Watts this week, probably on a weekday, guys. So keep an eye out for that. But Kai, thanks for being here. I really appreciate your insights.
Thank you for having me.
And I will have you on here again in the future, and hopefully we can talk more about Noah. I think it deserves more discussion.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks, and I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday. I'll catch you in the next video.
Bye, guys.